Welcome back to 1700. I'm here with Mojo Juju.
Hi.
And you're from Melbourne and you're releasing kind of local soul, blues, kind of rock and roll style music, yes?
I'm really bad at genre. I like lots of different kinds of music, and I think all of it influences me, but it changes all the time, and it's always hard to explain what I'm doing. I'm just writing music.
Are you one to talk about influences, or is it just kind of...
Yeah, I'll talk about it all day long, because there's so many of them. I love music, you know.
Which is why you're making it.
That's right. But,
So I guess, sorry, in 2012 you released a self-titled debut solo kind of release.
Yeah.
And that kind of covered a huge amount of kind of like rootsy ground, from blues to jazz, noir to soul. How do you feel you've come from there?
Well, I guess the latest record that came out this year, Seeing Red, Feeling Blue, is I worked with a Terror Stylist who's a hip-hop producer, and I guess I sort of found, you know, the last album prior was like very blues kind of oriented, not necessarily intentionally so, but I think that's how people read it. It was interpreted that way. So when I sat down to write the next record, I sort of felt like that was the expectation, and then when I started writing, I realised that the songs were actually, there was definitely more of a pop feel about them, and something more soulful, you know, and I guess I realised that if I was going to try and force something, it wouldn't be authentic, so I just let it go and sort of started writing the songs, and what came out at the end, I was like, I think I want to work with a hip-hop producer just to bring a different kind of flavour to it. So we sort of had this meeting in the middle, you know, where he wanted to make a live record and I wanted to make something a little bit more electronic. And we ended up working with quite a few members of a band called the Putbacks, who are probably, I think, some of Australia's best soul musicians. So, it sort of turned out, well, you have to hear it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's kind of, it's got a little bit of that R&B soul thing, but maybe a little bit pop and a little bit, I guess it still has a little flavour of blues in there, yeah.
Have you been touring this year, or is that something that
Relentlessly.
Yeah. Is that something you're going to also aim to do kind of next year? And
yeah, I guess touring is just part of the lifestyle for me. This year, I sort of focused on Australia. We had the release here, and we did a big album tour with the band, and then sort of off the back of that, I've been touring as a two-piece with my brother, who works with me quite a bit and sometimes co-writes with me. But we perform as a two-piece, and we also had a release come out in Europe this year, so I think next year we'll sort of look at touring overseas a little bit more.
Awesome. So I guess you've kind of got like a little bit of a retro kind of image, I guess, going around. How important do you think an image is, and what would you say your image is?
I guess it is important in a way, because it allows people to sort of relate to you or connect to what you're doing, or, you know, to sort of encourage an interest in what you're doing before they sort of hear the music. If you sort of see someone and you identify with their aesthetic, I guess you're going to explore that. I don't think it's something I am necessarily thinking about that hard. I always found it's better for me, anyway, to just be myself and be authentic. And, you know, it's also really fun to kind of dress up or, like, you know, photo shoots and that kind of stuff. It's always fun. For me, the creative part of what I do isn't limited to just making music. It's definitely expressed in, you know, the way I dress on stage, the artwork that goes along with the albums. So, you know, for me, it's part of a creative process, and it all ties in together. It's not necessarily...
It's like natural originality.
Yeah, it's just about authenticity.
Yeah, definitely. I guess, so you've had songs kind of featured on a few soundtracks?
Yeah.
So like for like Underbelly and such?
Yeah. We've done a few kind of TV show things that it's popped up here and there. Every now and then I'll have someone tell me, I heard your song on the TV. But most recently, actually soundtracked an entire film that came out it was a German film director. They made a film called Best of Friend, and yeah, it came out in February 2015. Yeah, so there's a soundtrack that came out along with that in Europe, but you can get it around somewhere here, I think.
So I guess in terms of like, as a fan base, do you think you've got an international fan base?
Yeah, it's been really interesting, sort of seeing how that's grown. I think obviously with the internet, it is a very global kind of community. Music, the way that, you know, people share music and those things sort of spread, it just has a life of its own. And we've been fortunate enough to sort of have a record label in Japan put out some of our stuff, P-Vine. So we've seen like an influx of kind of Japanese fans coming in and sort of, you know, interacting on social media and stuff. But we've never toured there, so that's pretty interesting. And then, you know, there is a really strong fan base in Germany in particular, and, you know, here and there around Europe. We did do a tour in 2013, and I think we played in like 6 or 7 different countries, so that was pretty amazing as well.
Any highlights from like touring or any non-highlights?
Well, it can, you know, it gets pretty wild out there, but man, there's so many highlights. Even just this year alone, like even the amount of times that I've toured in Australia, but still having brand new experiences all the time. Like this year, we actually kicked off the album launch tour at the Opera House in Sydney, that was incredible. To think that they would let me sing on that stage, you know, where there's been such an amazing vocalist. That's amazing, and, you know, forever grateful for all these opportunities that keep opening up. It's really cool that you can be experiencing new things all the time, even though, you know, I feel like I've been doing it for a long time.
I guess, what would you say to people just starting off in the music industry, and like, you know, where do they begin?
Oh man, it's gonna be a roller coaster. It's, you know, there's extreme highs and there's gonna be extreme lows inevitably, but just persistence, you know, hone your craft, be, you know, always striving to learn more, because I never stop learning about music, but also make sure that you do what you love. Like, don't worry about trends and fads and those kind of things, because they come and they go, and you just got to keep making music that, you know, is from here.
That's good. That's very wise words. Well, thank you for coming in today. This has been Mojo Juju, and you're watching 1700.
Thanks for having me.